Welcome again to another episode of the Dialed and Driven Hockey Mentality Podcast. Chris Palmer with Piranha Training, mental performance coach for hockey players throughout North America. Jeff Lerg, former professional hockey player, goalie mentors. He and I built this to try to give you things that are actionable, things that are usable every week. And this week we're going to talk about a subject that's kind of hard to define. It almost doesn't make sense. It's called Imposter Syndrome. Jeff, when we talk about this today, we're going to talk about something that you really can't relate to. This isn't you. It's no part of you. We talked to Natalie before the recording of this. Imposter syndrome seems like such a bizarre thing, and it isn't an actual psychological thing found as a diagnosis code in psychiatry books. It's actually a thing that's kind of used colloquially to describe a situation that isn't so comfortable for people. It's an extreme part of not believing in yourself and being worried about being found out, being an imposter. You can imagine somebody who might rent a Lamborghini and they get all this jewelry, rent all this jewelry because they want to put on a certain look. That's being an imposter. In terms of hockey, in terms of life, imposter syndrome is used to describe this idea of somebody who doesn't take risks because they don't want to fail or they don't want to be found out as being less. It's a horrible, horrible feeling, but it's a real thing. Jeff, do you want to say anything before I actually dive into this? I know you have more questions today than comments.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Well, first off, one of our listeners reached out to us at dialedandriven@gmail, gave us this idea of a new topic here, imposter syndrome. And I'll be honest, I'm in my late 30s. I'd never heard of it. I had to Google it and find out what it meant. Still, after reading about it, still didn't really have much meaning to me. And we've been chatting before on some of the examples, and you kind of just laid it out right there of kind of a pretender as opposed to a contender. I like to use that phrasing. Are you a pretender or a contender? And at your core, if you know you've done the work, you're obviously contending for success. So anyways, I'll let you elaborate a little bit more. But first, you had just mentioned there, someone trying to dress the part of someone successful. So what else is there to it? Maybe you can elaborate on your experience with it in mental performance, because I certainly need a little bit of education.
Yeah, no problem. So think of it this way. Everybody knows the idea of an imposter. There's even video games. Be careful of the imposter. An imposter is somebody who's not what they appear to be. And the fear of being seen as an imposter is what imposter syndrome is. It's this idea, and it's a range. It starts with self-doubt. It starts with worry, but it really grows into this thing where you're just paralyzed, where for whatever reason, you're not going to take a risk on the ice because you don't want to be found out as not being good enough. And then maybe that happens for a while, and you get some opportunities, and you're like, well, I'm a tier 2 guy. I don't want to try out for tier 1. What if I don't make it? What if I'm seen as a failure? So it's really fear-based, and it's fear about you not living up to what you think you are, or fear about other people seeing you as less, finally, finding out that you're an imposter, that you're a fake, that you're a fraud. So there's some people that posture, but this isn't so much the posturing as much as it is somebody being deathly afraid for whatever reason, out of comparisons, which are so normal, being found out as being not good enough. There are people I know who've been in Florida. Florida isn't known for having a gigantic tier 1 base. They've got 1 or 2 teams, and it's a lot harder. It's a big footprint. And some of those guys will go off to other areas. And I witnessed people say, oh, he thinks he's so good. He thinks he's so good. And guys going off to do these other camps, going off to prep schools, going off to different areas. They're worried that if they don't make it, that those guys are right and that they'll be seen as less. So this happens all the time. If you look at kind of a bell curve of people, right in the middle, that's 64, 68%, whatever it is, this kind of bulk of people in the middle. If you look at everybody going for big dreams, in these guys, the majority of people have doubt, fear, worry, concern. The guys out here have doubt, fear, worry, and concern, but those guys and girls who are super incredibly high performing deal with their crap quicker. They deal with their crap quicker, deal with their crap quicker. But even in the NHL, there's doubt, fear, and worry. We had Derek Lalonde coming on here telling us about Kucherov having 2 points in a game saying, hey, I suck, take me off. If that can happen, everybody can have this. So it's a really interesting thing that we're all managing this, but this doubt, fear, worry thing can actually turn into something that holds you back because you're deathly afraid of being seen as something less than either what you think you are or what you wish other people would see you as. And it keeps you from going to a null tryout. It keeps you from going to a USHL camp. It keeps you from going to Shattuck or any other place where, oh my gosh, maybe I'll be found out as not being good enough.
Let me ask this, because things have obviously changed technology-wise since we grew up as athletes, and you mentioned comparison and comparing yourself to others a little bit in your discussion there. So I wonder, from your experience, let's say within the last 10 years of just really social media, really just exponentially growing in your face at all levels, adults, kids, etc. Like, have you seen any change in this type of syndrome or behavior coming up more frequently? Or do you think it was around just as prevalent when we were growing up? Because from my perspective and listening to it, I never really was concerned with other kids. I was just like, hey, what's next? What are my buddies doing? What's our team have going? And it seemed to be easier just to maintain your focus. Of course, there wasn't as many distractions. So do you think there has been kind of an exponential growth in this due to the nature of our world now?
Yeah, well, it's a frequency thing, right? And sometimes it's the quantity and intensity. So if you look at life, like, I'm an older guy. Look at me growing up in the 70s and 80s. I had a school, and at a school I had 4 bullies for almost 8 years. 4 bullies. But I only had 4. Lucky I was. I didn't put a post out about something I did and have people just spew 172 comments about, oh, you're a piece of crap, you suck, you're awful, you should quit, why are you doing that, your hair looks like this, you can't, whatever the things are. There's a quantity issue where it's just all over you, but there's also a quality and an intensity issue because people are less afraid to be horrific face to face. And they're just more courageous about being crappy when they're online. There's an anonymous power about having the distance of that keyboard shooting a signal through the air to your phone. And people just are much more comfortable being hateful when they get to sit behind their screen. So it's really, really hard in quantity and in quality. And I know it's a thing because if you look at how social media is created, it's not so much created just to send things out that's going on in your life. There's a comment section. There's like, there's dislike, there's angry, there's follows, not follows, all these things. And these social media guys understand us. They know there is a primal thing in everybody that wants other people to like them. We all want to be liked or loved or connected. We all want that. Even in psych research of positive psychology by this guy named Seligman, who's the father of positive psychology, he came out in his PERMA thing with all these things that people really care about to have a good life and happy in their life. One of the things was relationships.
Go through PERMA. It actually is super interesting. When you had mentioned it, the first time I ever heard you speak, I was like, wow, that makes sense. I think that can be a real actionable item for someone to absorb and listen to understand why people operate the way they operate.
Yeah, and this even helps you get through this imposter syndrome before it gets out of control and holds you back. PERMA is this acronym made by a guy named Seligman, Martin Seligman. He was the father of positive psychology, but he was also this really research-oriented psychologist that worked for forever in what's wrong with people. Oh, this is wrong, depression, bipolar, whatever, anxiety, all these things. And he just got sick of it because all he's doing is diagnosing bad stuff and putting medicine on it. And it's okay, but it's not the same as really helping people thrive. So he spent the last part of his career doing research on hundreds of thousands of people to try to find out what makes people happy, what makes them feel alive, what makes their life feel like a life. And PERMA starts with the letter P, which is anything positive. And it can be dumb positive. It could be going to a game or goofing off a game of cards. It could be scrolling a little bit. We like positive things. It's not super impactful, but it's a thing. The next one's E, being engaged in something so much. You care about something so much you lose track of time. It could be fishing. It could be hockey. It could be video games, and sometimes doing something you're so engaged in you lose track of time. But R, here we come to people. Relationships, so important. There's plenty of research says the 2 things that people regret as they get older is not spending enough time with the people they care about and not going for the things they truly care about. That's E and R. And then M is meaningful experiences. And the meaningful experiences can be with people. They typically are. And then the final one is achievement. The A is achievement on PERMA. Achieving things that you find valuable. not what other people find valuable. One of the things in corporate America is they think that people need to be challenged to do better. Yes, that's true. But what you're missing is they need to be challenged at things that they care about, that they believe in, that they think is important. And when they do that, when they go after things that they actually care about, the motivation is through the roof. So yes, we like to achieve things. We like all these other things, but relationships are everything. And one of the problems with social media, and I'm not crapping on social media, I'm a consumer of it, but social media, when looked at to define who you are as a person, if you are sitting doom scrolling, and I didn't make up the term, but it's a term of somebody kind of sitting in a chair or lying in their bed with nothing going on and they're bored, and they scroll and they scroll and they scroll, and they do this and they get these little dopamine hits, and it feels good enough. Doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel like anything on the PERMA scale. It's just passing time. I don't know what I want to do. I should get up and take a shower. Maybe I should go eat something. I'll just scroll some more. And one of the things you run into is, oh my gosh, this person liked me. This person didn't like me. And that stuff, if you allow it to form your belief in yourself, which happens all the time, there are many, many people who kind of go off the deep end slowly because they get depressed by what they see in social media. But here, you have a chance to put things in perspective. And if you can put life in perspective and realize that social media is an artificial type of interaction, it is not the same as one-on-one. When I talk one-on-one with you, you know I'm here, we're talking, you see my eye contact, we get involved in things. On social media, there's something that cuts out the regular filter of humanity. And it's the fearlessness of being on the other side of the screen and sometimes just letting the crap out. And that crap can make you think that that's what you are. And there's many people who think they are the sum total of likes and dislikes. It's horrible. And it's understandable. We want to fit in. We want to be connected. PERMA proves it. Life proves it. Look at teams. Florida, Florida State, Michigan, Ohio State. In every case, we want to be part of something. We want to be connected to people. And unfortunately, social media can make you feel like you are disconnected because of the tendency toward high quantity and high quality of hate and negativity.
You said something, though, this was not on the social media front, but more on the achievement front on that PERMA, which I think is relevant to this imposter syndrome and the meaning behind the achievement. Because as we were chatting before we recorded here, I was trying to get a little understanding of this imposter syndrome, and I'd referenced, the only time I really can have this resonate me was as a coach with an athlete who his parents just kept shelling out year after year, 2 private lessons a week, or at least weekly, multiple camps, and this goalie became better and better through the years. He was a bigger goalie, so he took up space, and he kind of just developed this kind of natural I don't care mentality, which kind of made him good because he can kind of be carefree, and if it went in, no problem, but if he kind of turned it on, like, he'd make some saves, and he ended up becoming a really good teenage goalie. Well, eventually it kind of came to the crux of where a lot of the head-on collisions come, where you're trying to make your way into juniors, and it kind of weeds out, as I referenced, the pretenders to the contenders. And this goalie, at some point, I think in his heart he knew, he didn't necessarily belong at these high levels that he was getting an opportunity to play at because scouts were looking at him and he kind of fit the mold of what they were looking for. Oh, he's big and he can move, and he did good enough to kind of keep getting noticed and keep getting chances. And eventually, I think in his core, he knew he didn't really want to go take those risks. It was kind of, he got to the point of, do I want to go to a certain level and kind of grind it out and prove myself, and then go work to accomplish the goal I really have in my heart, which I believe now, looking back, he didn't really have a goal. It was just, he was showing up just because he was told to show up. So as you had referenced what this was, it came to light to me that meaning of that achievement, that pull to work hard and to go through it was not strong enough. So he was kind of just this, as you referenced, this imposter playing at these high levels and getting all these chances, but the pull of accomplishing what many people would have established, that would make them pull through, it wasn't there for him. So I only know the negative aspect where, at least right now, to date, I can identify, okay, that's what it meant. He didn't really pull through because of it, but curious on your end, like what's the way that people and athletes do get out to the other side?
Yeah. Well, and I'd be happy to tell you that, but I'd love to use an example first if I can. There's a guy I use in my advisory panel with PERMA, and we've worked together a lot, and his name's Miles Harvey, and he's really public about this. This guy's like 7 foot a million. He's like 6'7", and he was in the AHL, and he did really, really well. He's a guy who came up, was great at Providence. He played at Providence. He left Florida to go play in Canada early in his life. I mean, he's just a guy who just looks like he could have gone all the way. And he knows he could have gone all the way. But he's public about this thing, this imposter syndrome that hit him. When he was in the AHL, he was offered 16 different opportunities to come play with NHL teams as kind of a tryout to see how things would go to their camps. He refused all of them. And he refused all of them, he said in later life, and he says publicly now, he refused them because he didn't want to be found out as being less than what everybody thought he was. He was just hyped up to be this great guy. And you see a guy who's like almost 7 feet tall, and he's just a great guy. He's strong. He's a great defender. And you see that, and it's like, man, like you feel like you got to be this person. And then these opportunities came up, and he didn't take them because he just didn't want it to actually be known to the world or defined to the world that you're not enough. But in reality, he was more than enough. Why did these 16 teams keep coming to him? Because they saw something special in him. He regrets that. He wishes there were mental performance coaches back when he worked, because he sees now that all of it was just doubt, fear, and worry, which at its most extreme makes you play it safe because you don't want to be found out as a fraud. You don't want to be seen as an imposter. So I want to mention that first, just to let you know it occurs everywhere. But in terms of getting past it, there's really one fundamental thing to get past it. Being able to look at where you are and deciding what you truly want with your life. Back to this PERMA thing we talked about on the A, it's not just achievement, but achieving things you care about. We talked about motivation before, being driven and belief, all these things. There's a million things you can do with your life. I think all of us are capable of doing all kinds of things, but I go to this joke of making a birdhouse. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's somebody who makes birdhouses that you could pay $1,000 for. And you can probably learn how to do that. And you could probably be pretty good at it and make millions of dollars selling $1,000 birdhouses. But I don't have any interest in that at all. So how good am I going to be? I could probably do it, but why? I think we all have this unique thing built into us, whether it's God or the universe, whatever you believe, there's something in us. We're just driven for different things. Every one of us has things we're uniquely driven for. And if, in hockey, you truly have a big dream, you truly have something you want to achieve, and you really want it. And the problem is, most of the guys in hockey, most of the girls in hockey, they start when they're 2, 3, 4 years old. They don't even remember when they started. They certainly don't know why. And maybe they never chose it for themselves. But if you can look at hockey or anything else in your life and decide, this is what I really want, this is what I really, truly want in the center of who I am, and you go for that, and you know that you're going to get crap, you're going to get hate, you're going to get people follow, unfollow, dislike, people say you're nothing, people say you're not good enough, you're going to have it all over the place. You were 5'5", Jeff, with asthma. People told you would never have that. And if you didn't have a stomach for that and realize that the haters are not in charge, you're in charge of your damn life, you never would have had what you had. And that's the solution. And it's not that easy. So get with a mental performance coach, get with a mentor, get with somebody who cares about you, talk through your crap, talk about your fears, and face them. Because we talk about facing the monster and the monster shrinks. This is just a monster that isn't as big as it seems like. In the end, you can go and bust your ass and go as far as you can in the sport, and you're eventually going to hit your ceiling. Even guys in the NHL become too old. Everybody hits a limit. So it's everything you have for everything you want, working through your crap, the same themes we talk about all the time. That's the way to get past this. Because at some point, you're not going to be good enough. It's just what happens. It's life. We all someday get to old age. You're not going to be good enough. It's just what it is. So keep deciding what you want. And if hockey isn't your thing, if you're so tied up with all these comparisons, maybe it's not your thing. But if you want this, slowly building the courage to take risks and moving forward to get what you want, that's the way to get past imposter syndrome. You'll never get rid of all the doubt and fear, but you learn how to step up, no matter how much hate there is.
You said something there that I think needs to really be a key piece of the recipe, is that you just can't care what other people think. You have to learn how to become your own person and really, for me growing up, obviously we talk about the group of people you hang out with becomes a lot of the sum of who you were. But I mean, my best friends, we were all wired differently. We're high school teenagers. We'd go out, have a social life. But there were still times when everyone needs to have certain decisions made that are different than even your best friends. So you got to get to the point of, I just don't care. If you can start to live for who you are individually, that's going to help you continue to have that belief in who you are and what you're doing. And then also, you'd mentioned it, at some point, everyone's going to be done with their sport. Everyone becomes not good enough. So why not just give it all until you get to that point? For me, trying to chase an NHL dream, I always knew the NHL was obviously the 1% of the 1% of athletes in the world, but you still have to kind of find that way to trick your mind into thinking, hey, I can do it. I can be there if I just keep doing this and keep accomplishing these goals and keep kind of having small little tasks be accomplished, and they give you that quick little dopamine hit of, man, that felt great, I want to do it again. And then you do it again, and you kind of keep that cycle continuing. You have to put yourself in that mindset as the athlete if you want to be the serious athlete. And that's the reason we talk about the hockey pyramid. We talk about all these different avenues. There's a reason why all those things play out. And maybe those that don't have that internal belief and they kind of maybe have this imposter type feeling, they're going to be weeded out quicker than not if they don't come to terms with it. If they can't find that piece to say, hey, this is where I'm feeling, this is kind of in my heart, I know this is how I stand, then there's that decision to be made. So I know you've worked with athletes and helped getting them over the mental piece of it. I know from a coach perspective, we can see it at times. A lot of times, I think it's just the environment that athletes and goalies, in my case, come from. If it's that overbearing parent that wants it more than the kid, or the kid who is just too consumed on what others think, they don't worry about how they can take actionable steps for themselves to really identify themselves. So those are the things that I try to look for in teenagers, especially where the comparison games becomes more prevalent than ever. And it's really just about finding those daily habits. What are they? What can you do to help yourself get a little bit better each and every day? And that's a token phrase. Like anyone can say, oh, let's get 1% better. I don't even know what that means. All that is to me is really just, what do you do virtually every day of the week consistently over and over and over? 6 out of 7 days, do you do this, 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 and this? Not 5 out of 7, not 5.5, not 5.9. What can you do every single day over and over? And then that'll start to give you that internal self-identification on who you really are. And then the PERMA, all that will become natural. That acronym, when you first went over it at one of your mental performance sessions, I was like, wow, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I love being around positive people. Yeah, I love feeling that positive energy in relationships and meaningful experiences and accomplishing things. And that's the meaning of life. And really, when you're chasing the sports dream, those are the best feelings.
Yeah, no, I agree. So really, just to sum up this thing, everybody's going to have this. I mean, even you, as driven as you are, there was that moment with your second ACL sitting on the couch going, oh my gosh. I mean, there was that moment. And you went from that very quickly because you've developed this overcome kind of way of living your life. You just immediately attacked what you're capable of attacking. You control what you can control. But as you go through this, I just want you to know, as it's kind of a summary here, you're going to be in Tier 2 trying for Tier 1. You're going to be in a house league trying for Tier 2. You're going to be Tier 1 trying for juniors, and pick your jumps, AHL to NHL, whatever it is. And in each one of these things, you're going to be worried about whether you can be good enough. It's just natural. And if you care at all about people, which just about everybody's built into this instinctively, you're going to care what people think. So you're going to fear and you're going to worry. And the only answer in the end is you've got 7, 8, or 9 decades to live this life. And you have to decide how you're going to spend your time. And you can just be an instinct-driven person. You can succumb to doubt, fear, and worry. Everybody has it. Or you can realize that it's just an instinct and realize that your real friends love you no matter what. Your parents are going to love you no matter what. Everybody else, it'd be nice if they gave you approval, but you can't always rely on it. But in the end, you have, what is your mission in your life? What are you deciding? What do you give a crap about so much that sometimes you can't sleep because you can't wait to get up the next morning? And if you don't know one of those things, start searching in the internet of all the things, all the ways to spend a life, and find something you're passionate about. And maybe it's building birdhouses. But whatever it is, find something that you care about and achieve things you want to do and give every single thing you have, knowing you're going to get kicked in the face with negativity, whether you're Cristiano Ronaldo at the top of the food chain of sports, or if you're somebody in a house league just trying to make it work. Doesn't matter. Fail or succeed, you're going to have haters. It's part of life. Once you make peace with that, you go for what you want, and the moment you feel fear, you face that monster, and I promise you, that monster shrinks. And you can move for the things you want so that doubt, fear, and worry don't turn into imposter syndrome and hold you back from going for the things you care about.
And I think lastly, just the reality is life and sports are just going to be full of problems. There's never this calm, steady, perfectly calm water view of athletics. We reference kind of this whack-a-mole experience. You get one down, the next one pops up. And I think if you just put your energy toward those small little things being put to bed and then put your mindset toward the next goal that you're reaching for, it's really the only way you're going to survive. Just the quicker you acknowledge there's always going to be a problem, there's always going to be a new challenge, there's always going to be something difficult coming your way, the easier your athletic endeavors will become. Because then you start to have your focus on what can I do in order to make those goals or those problems to feel minimal. And your habits just start to take over. Every day there's a new problem. It's just part of your habitual routine. Knock that one down, get up for the next. So for me, I think as I kind of learned a few things along the way here too, it's putting your energy toward that and then really establishing what you're playing for. And at the end of the day, if it's not your passion to achieve high success in athletics, then you might as well find a new passion now. So in the end, athletes, find a way to keep staying dialed and staying driven on your goals, as that's the only way to accomplish success. We look forward to chatting again next week.